Kamen Rider Gavv has recently begun, and I'm already thinking about what his future upgrades and final form could be like, so let's theorize. Before I start saying nonsense theories, I just want to remind everyone watching that last week I did my episode 1 review of Gavv since it came out last week, so if you want to hear like my actual concrete thoughts on stuff that has actually happened, go check that out, because this video is just going to be like complete speculation with some actual facts that we do have, but mostly speculation. So be warned that there will be real spoilers ahead for some stuff that has been leaked, and possible spoilers ahead for stuff that I'm going to say that could be true or it could not be true. And of course, make sure you let me know your own theories down below in the comments section. I really want to hear what everyone thinks some of the future forms or even future plot points, even though I will not go as in-depth with that. If you have ideas for where the story could go, by all means let me know. Any predictions you got, I want to hear them. So just to set like the stage, a little preface, I really enjoy like theorizing about Rider final forms and Sentai final forms too, when that's a thing, but this is a Kamen Rider video. Like, the thing is, a lot of the time they're built off of concepts that are part of forms throughout the show. The big one to me where I kind of realized this was Gaim, where all the forms have weapons, and it's not like a big thing like, oh, every form like has a unique, like, it is a prominent aspect, but none of the characters call it out. And then Gaim Kiwami can use all of those weapons and summon all of them. So I have like had correct final form predictions before. About halfway through Saber, when we got the Prophecy of Swords and he was kind of dual wielding a lot, I said, oh, well, his final form is probably going to be the ability to summon the sword so he can continue that dual wielding aspect, but now with everyone else's sword. That was correct. And then about like a week into Geats, I also said like, what if the final form is like a buckle that has its own ID core, which is what Mark 9 is. With gotchard, I wasn't as accurate. You can go check out my separate video if you want to see how wrong I was. I had like the right idea kind of, but the thing is, like, even with Nijigun, they set up 101 chemis from the start, and the 101st that doesn't fit into all of those categories ended up being the final form. So the final form's always kind of like foreshadowed a bit in a way, its abilities or like how it's actually formed. So with that said, there's a few routes I think to the final form, but before I get to that, actually I want to talk about some of the other forms leading up to it. So we have 2 leaks right now for 2 of the first power-ups that Gavv is going to be using. The first is the Cake King form, Cake King. It's meant to be like towards the end of this year. We have a couple like sketches and pictures of what it's supposed to be that I'll be putting on screen. Essentially, he's going to be using like a big cake spear weapon, and he can remove a cake piece from it, put it in the belt, and it opens up, and that obviously transforms him. We don't know what the form looks like, but we know what the toys look like. And then the next big upgrade is just called an ice cream form, and we've been told like it opens up kind of in a unique way in the belt, but we don't really know anything besides that, and that the gimmick will have its own lights and sounds, but that also, you know, you probably could have guessed that because that's how things usually are by that point. We also know from Cranjo and SGK Sen that have hacked the belt, like in quotes, but they basically managed to get pretty much all of these sounds that the DX Gavv belt can make on its own. It's a pretty wild list that I am going to be going through a bit in this. If you want to go through it yourself, Cranjo has categorized a lot of it in a link, and I'm also going to be linking to their 2 videos where they go over a lot of those sounds. So a lot of the sounds that they've found, I didn't do anything, they're assist types. So the assist types are the like the kicking and punching gummy, or the spicy chips, or even I think Vrokan, the bike gimmick, is counted as an assist. So those are the gimmicks that don't have, they're not creating a whole new form, but you can see they're like associated with one of the gimmicks that does make a whole new form, like punch or popping gummy and Zaku Zaku chips instead of Hiri Hiri chips. So I'm not going to go over all of this in this video, but if you'd like to see more, you can go over and check out my Patreon, and I do go over a lot more of this in extended footage stuff, but it's just kind of reading off names, so it's not a huge deal for this video. Gummy, popping, kicking, punching, obviously. Then there's fishing, Amazing, and Sparking. So there's 3 other gummies, but they're all assists. We know there's a Popcorn that's probably going to be the movie form. There's a bunch of chocolate variants, so I imagine at least one of them could be a form change or even an upgrade for Valen. A lot of these are like, there's a cookie Gochizo that makes a form. It has the form jingle, or it has a little like sound announcement at the end. But then there's another cookie Gochizo sound that doesn't make that sound announcement, and it's an assist. It's 2 cookies. They make the same sound. There's just a different part at the end, and then they make different finishers. So that's a really confusing thing to me, because there's a lot of them like this. Like, if you just go down, there's like there's 3 different Chakudans, which is what Gavv uses for his form. There's an assist Chakudan. There's like and then there's 2 transformation Chakudans that make different transformation sounds. And I don't know what's going on with that at all. And a lot of these, like macaron, caramel, pudding, like there's only one of these different Gochizos that we haven't seen anything of yet, but there's 2 different like variants of it. There's like, they'll make the same announcement, but then they'll be treated either as an assist or a form. So that's very confusing. Like, are they going to release like a cookies that looks one way and then another cookies looks the other way, and one is just happens to be the assist and the other is the form? But then it's also weird because, like, we've seen with the gummies, like and the chips, all the assists we have so far only have the assist types are a different version. There's not a popping gummy that's an assist. It's the assists are kicking and punching gummy. So the fact there's a Chakudan, sorry, that's a form, and then there's a Chakudan that's an assist. Is that Chakudan assist ever being released? If it's released, is it going to look a little different than the current Chakudan? Another thing too, there's like an extra cake form that's like, it's not the unique standby like the main one. So I kind of think maybe it's like an in-between form, like maybe it's used to just summon the weapon on its own, and then he detaches the cake and transforms. I think that would be pretty cool. So the one interesting thing too is we know that Valen, the secondary rider, is going to be using the Chokodon Gochizo, which we now know in the Gavv belt is going to be making an assist sound. So while a lot of these are assists, they could be used as base forms in other equipment for other riders. So maybe if it's not doing anything in this belt, there's another belt that it could do something in, so there's that to keep in mind. Also, they might not even be in the show, they might not be released as toys. That's kind of how it's up in the air how and if so many of these will be released. The big thing is that all of these have the same standby jingles, the generic like eat the gummy. All of those do that. Well, like either eat candy or eat choco, that kind of thing. Except cake. Cake has its own unique standby. So the first upgrade is changing the standby, and we know ice cream has its own sound, so it's probably going to make its own standby, we can assume. So we probably, like by process of elimination, all of these other Gochizos in the belt are probably not the higher tier forms for Gavv. Maybe like he might get them later in the show as extra assists because they gotta sell more toys and put them out in Gashapon or whatever, but they're probably not going to be like super upgrade new forms. Maybe there's going to be like an in-between state, kind of like how Boost Mark III was a sound in the Desired Driver before upgrading into Mark 9, but besides that, doesn't seem like any of these are going to be big upgrade forms. So all the big power-ups are really completely in the air. Like, you can guess whatever for what they could be. So I do think I've seen a lot of people saying this in my comment section, and I do have to agree, it's pretty safe to assume one of the forms is gonna be the dark treats, or based on the dark treats. Like in Shoma's flashback, his mom literally tells him to not eat the dark treats. That feels like pretty blatant foreshadowing to me. I hear that and my brain goes, those could make for some interesting toys. So I feel pretty confident in saying that this year's 2-part super form is gonna start off with Shoma eating a dark treat, and then maybe through a new weapon or another component of the gimmick or something like that, the form will get purified and we get the true super form. Basically what they've been doing since 01. But like this time it's just baked in. Like, we already have the setup for an evil or a berserker form. They've been doing it. I don't see why they would stop. So that's my guess for the super form. That's a dark treat, half of the form, and something purifies it. I don't really have an idea what purifies it though. I mean, I guess the purifying version would be like an assist gummy, not gummy, just an assist gochizo, right? Like, it would be the lateral version of that fixes it. Maybe a 2-part gochizo, something like that. Of course, if you're interested in my thoughts on the forms, if and when they come out throughout the course of the show, make sure you subscribe to this channel, because I am doing weekly short reviews for Gavv, just like I did with gotchard and Geets, and everything I watch live now these days, really. So I'd really appreciate it if you could check those out as the show goes on, and let me know your thoughts on the show as it airs. So for the final form, the title of the video, there are a few directions I can see them going. The first one is the crazy one, whole new belt. A lot of people have been also saying in my comment section that they're probably going to swap out the top half of the belt because it comes off on the toy, or maybe they attach something to it, and I just don't see them doing that. Like, that's a weird, I'm thinking of it from a toy perspective, that's like a big piece of plastic you're sticking on the belt or sticking on the front to not do anything. It's not going to, it doesn't change the sounds. There's no attachment sound or something like that with this belt. So I don't understand why they do an attachment thing. Like, I know in 01 they had the faceplate swap out and they wouldn't do anything. It was just to change the look of the belt. But for the Gavv belt, it's like a big slab you take off. Like, I don't think they're going to do that, especially because with 01 it started with the 02 unit, which did make new sounds, and there's no way to do that here. My speculation is that what if they did a whole new belt, just a whole new Gavv driver, like let's not call it driver, a new gold, we'll just say it's gold, Gavv belt thing, possibly coming from Shoma eating like a super duper snack or something like that, and now he can upgrade his belt when he needs to go into the final form. And then this would be where all the weird assist versions of gochizos that could have forms comes in. For example, the Chocodan assist variant, maybe that's used in this belt to give an assist of a form that he's already used. So it would incorporate forms, or it would incorporate all the forms he's acquired over the course of the season. And then some of the other extra assist gummies, maybe he uses that in this, like maybe Sparking or Amazing Gummy is used in the Super Gold Gavv belt, and that gives him his final form or something like that. So instead of giving us a souped up gimmick, we get a souped up belt, and he just eats like normal popping gummies and stuff, and now this organ creates weird children minions. The one thing is I just don't see them making a new belt at retail for the final form, like just a repaint or slight remold belt. Now that sounds like a premium Bandai thing to go to the dark villain, which is apparently happening. It is rumored we're getting a black Gavv driver, not called a driver, that goes to like an evil guy. So that kind of, would they sell a third repaint at retail this time? Probably not, but I figured I'd just throw it out there because I do think it is kind of an option they could do. My second idea actually isn't a gimmick. It could kind of tie into my main idea, and it's that I think it would be kind of funny if the final form gimmick harnessed the power of all the gotchard that are dying from Shoma digesting them as forms. I never thought I would say that kind of sentence about Kamen Rider, but I don't know like how it really would work. It's just that they're kind of showing like that they're dying. Like the Vrokan dies, Kicking Gummy dies, and that is an element that it seems like they might be trying to use, like him using consistent gummies in fights, or candies, gochizos, whatevers. So it would be kind of awesome if that like overarching element ties into the final form. That's the thing that ties in, the consistently dying gummies. So instead of like eating a random snack and a gochizo comes out, maybe Shoma like channels the spirits of the gochizo that have died over the course of the season, and they create a little new thing that he sticks in the belt, and we get cool final form sounds and stuff like that. Speaking of cool final form sounds, my actual main idea is a big gummy, super gummy variant. So like, I know that doesn't sound like super unique. I'm sure most people are probably thinking of that because Reiwa kind of loves reimagining the base forms as the final forms. But I'm thinking this is like a big popping gummy with its own lights and electronics and stuff, and it has the ability to create its own upgraded assists. Basically like a big gummy you put in the belt, you can do whatever with it, but like you can hit a button on it or something, or change modes either in the belt or take it out and change modes, and it's going to create new assists. So like a super punching gummy, super kicking gummy. If amazing, sparking, fishing are forms that he gets in the show, then maybe like all of those gummies are what like kind of coalesce into this super gummy, and all of those are used in some way. Maybe they're not even like, maybe we don't even need amazing and the other ones in the show, but maybe they're incorporated into this one. Between this and the other idea, if you couldn't tell, I'm banking all of like at least my main super specific idea for the final form is that I do think they're going to incorporate the assists in some way. It just feels like a very like, it's a not an in-your-face part of like the form changes and stuff, but it is an element of the form changes. Again, there's 3 different variants of popping gummy already. We're getting multiple Zaku chips, multiple the bike is a variant of another form. So I do think the assists somehow are going to tie into the final form. It's either like a new gimmick creating its own assists, or maybe the older snacks are being used to create powered up assists in the belt. I think it's going to incorporate assists in some way. So throughout the show, be sure to keep your eye on the assists. I've said that word too many times. I'm going to stop now. Let me know what you think, and remember to check out my Patreon for that extended footage access, and subscribe for my future Kamen Rider content, and I hope to see you next time.